order. Sewer Commission meeting Wednesday, February 11th, 2015, 6:35. Those in attendance, Commissioner Higgins, Commissioner Demko, newly appointed Ken Johnson. Also, DPW Commissioner Randy Sylvester, Supervisor Commissioner Steve Dempsey, and Administrative Secretary Liz Welch. Also, Tom with the Advisory Board.
Eric Haskell.
Eric Haskell, okay. So the first item on the agenda is the minutes of past meeting. Did you ever take a look at them?
Yeah, we're in good shape there. Okay.
We had a receiver extended to 60 days December, right?
Yeah, we'll have to extend that another 60 days.
We'll send nothing. What else has happened? It's on call, is it? It's due, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna have to start that. Randy, that on-call expires, when does that expire?
You on call?
The on-call agreement?
Consolidation agreement?
In September, you said?
December.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So-
Okay, and make your motion to accept the minutes of the meeting.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion, we'll accept the minutes of the meeting. Okay, if,
Second the
motion?
Kenny?
All those in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, the first article on the agenda is Article 23, Sewer Commission, Sewer Appropriation Bylaw. I think that's Bob, right?
Yeah, I went to the Board of Health meeting on this. It was something that was left out in 1983. I guess they left out a little piece of it, and now we have to get it in there, and we have to recognize it, and we have to approve it, and make a statement that we've accepted it. So it's no big deal. It probably should have been in there in the first place, but it did not get in there for whatever reason, so this needs to get done as soon as we can. I know Kirk's not here, but he was there at that meeting, and he was very anxious to get this done. It's holding up other issues, so I think we can.
I think the big thing was the Board of Health was involved in that, right?
Yeah, so we need to be able to trot along with this and
Okay.
approve this.
I hear a motion to accept.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that's done.
All right, the next article is North Sewer District boundary discussion.
So, as you guys are aware, the Lewis Court proposed subdivision kind of sparked a little interest in this North Sewer District boundary. And so we started a conversation, I started a conversation with the MWRA to just try to clarify where they felt the boundary was. And let's turn this around. Will that work?
Yeah, I think we can make this work,
Okay,
yeah.
that will work. So,
I thought it was beyond the
Would you like to see
200-foot
this? And
region,
would you like to-
what we're talking about.
Okay,
what we're trying to do right now is just establish the boundary as is, because the language was very vague and very gray in a lot of areas.
What we talking, what language from where?
From the...
From the
1945.
1945 agreement.
So, I've done a lot of research on this. I know Randy's done research with me, and we threw all our research to the MWRA, and after a couple of months of them having their paws at it, this is what they have come up with as far as the North Sewer District boundaries. And obviously, there are some, this is Conservatory Park, which was added in 1974, and it comes off this way to the west, northwest. And I'm not going to speak for Randy, but we've looked at this, and I'm comfortable with this as the boundary as is. Obviously, there's the corridor up to Wampatuck on the force main,
Yep.
and there's a couple of areas that we want to sit down and talk to them about that are outside this boundary, but we just want to have the commission take a look at this and either concur or not that this is the boundary.
You talking Lewis Court too?
Lewis
Court.
Court, yes, is in here, yeah. And we actually came to a determination out of the
Down here.
4 lots in the subdivision, Lot 4 is eligible, and the other 3 have to go septic. So
Okay, so
that came in.
that was 400 feet anyhow outside the district.
Yeah, so Lot 4 can get in.
Within 200 feet, right?
Yeah, they're right on, and that's
Yeah.
fine, and we have that in writing.
the district line,
Right.
and they did in a very small triangle, so they're able to get into the district.
Okay,
Everyone else was outside the district.
I mean, they just made it, but they're in, so.
so how many services are we going to be able to provide them? Just 2?
Just the
Just
one.
Okay, just the one, okay.
And we'll, obviously, we'll charge the I&I fee when we get the bedroom
Yeah,
count
okay.
and all that, and the introductory,
Is there a
the
small map
connection
there
fee. We have a couple of different maps. This one may be a little more friendly.
Yeah, it
to
is.
see? And this has the 200-foot reach in here.
Oh, that's great.
Where's World's End here now?
World's End is out of range
Out
here.
here,
Okay.
yeah, it's not in the district. Okay.
Now, just to clarify this, the 200 feet is not necessarily a reach-in, but in order for someone to hook up, they have to have border the line.
Main.
They have to border the district line, the actual line, and then there's
Yes.
200 feet they can come out to tie up. So they could border this line, okay, the district line, but they couldn't come out 400 feet and tie it. They have to be within the 200 feet.
Now, the only thing they left out in this map is the 200-foot mark. This is the 1974 addition of what is now Conservatory Park.
Okay. That was all military reservation.
That's
Okay,
correct.
right, so that actually went in 1945. That was all
Part of-
part of that ammunition
Well,
depot?
I'm not sure how that worked in 45. They had their own sewer treatment
Yeah.
plant and everything in there
Oh,
at that
okay.
point.
All right, okay.
Yeah, originally, this wasn't part of it, it was just this line coming
Yeah.
down
Okay.
and going over, and this was the district. And then this line came in after this was,
Interestingly enough, 74 is about the same year,
Yeah.
I'm not exact, I haven't researched it,
Yeah.
that Wampatuck is in. So,
Wampatuck State Park.
yeah, so we want to talk to them about that corridor where the force main is,
Yep.
the town hall, a couple of those.
Yep, comes down to Central Street across the ball field and stuff.
Yeah, we want to talk
okay.
about that a little bit. I know
They,
this-
but they own it, right? Right now, they own it, maintain it.
I'd like one of you commissioners in on that conversation,
Yeah,
and we'll talk about it.
okay.
Okay.
Who owns what, who does that, and that's all you
Yeah.
have to.
Is that something that you and Randy would favor taking in as part of the original 1945? Because that's when they put all of that in there.
A lot of
I'd like them
I&I.
to own it, because then they
Yeah.
can fix it
Yeah, 'cause the
myself.
I&I
Well,
is
I'll-
big there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you don't want to own it?
No.
I don't want to have to maintain it.
Well, if you own
If
it,
you guys choose it differently, well, then that's up to you.
Just go to the state park?
yes.
Yeah.
that's-
No, we don't want to own it. They've already had main breaks on there, and
Okay.
it's up to them to deal with it.
We get a lot of
Which they're
I&I
costly,
too.
because they go into Ware River,
Yeah.
and I don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
I
We don't
know
have the
if you want the
manpower.
expense, but we won't be getting that money back, so.
Oh, okay.
There's nothing to collect there.
Yeah.
It's just a force main.
Okay, do we account for the effluent from those facilities on that line? Are they a non-revenue use, or are they a revenue use, all of
You're
it?
talking about Wampatuck State Park?
Yeah.
They pay us. They owe us right now, but they pay us.
Yeah, but I mean,
Quite a
we bill them,
Yes,
and
Yes.
the others who are on that line, are they OPA or
yeah, fire department.
department?
Do we have a meter
This building.
now on there?
Yeah, they're redoing their station, and we're gonna make sure they have a meter on the new station as well.
Okay,
So
so
what
as
have
long
we
as
been
we,
doing from then, up until now, metering?
The billing has been going out as
Aquarian water.
Aquarian water, as
so
all the
whatever that
others.
is, that's what we've been charging them?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, we
As we do everyone
did,
Yeah.
else.
we did find, that there was a lot of I&I, and they went through and cambered everything. I have all the film.
Yeah,
And they've repaired a lot of the camping area, which was, there was salamanders, and it was a wildlife refuge in there.
well, let me ask you a question. Where the gate to the state park is, okay, there are two big meters there that record the water usage going into the park. Okay, that's how the aquarium bills that. The line itself for the storage, okay, I think that comes out similarly to the left-hand side maybe of the old guard shack there, is that?
It comes, exactly, if you're looking at the
Yeah,
state park, it's
yeah.
on the right-hand
It's on,
side.
okay, it's on the right-hand side. So from there, down across the bridge and
Yep.
behind the high school and across Cronin Field and onto Central Street.
Go to the right of the bridge, down under the water,
Water.
and back out onto Union Street.
Okay. So that's where
That's
all
where the break was.
Yeah, it's, okay, so we kind of know where that all is, right?
We know where that
Okay,
is.
all right.
How old is that main there?
1945 probably.
No, I think,
When they did that,
in the late 60s.
Late 60s?
But the only gray area is through Cronin Field.
Okay.
We don't have a drawing on that, which we're working on now.
Isn't there a manhole over there in the old track or something, or in the field?
I don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, okay.
We will know, but we
Yeah, I
don't know right now.
Yeah, okay,
There's a couple of different drawings, and they do not agree, so.
Okay.
We're trying to figure that one out.
okay.
So, if you would entertain a vote to accept this as the boundary tonight, we could move forward
Yeah,
in the conversation.
okay. So,
And just to make it clear, the MWRA gave us these
Yeah.
maps.
Yeah.
good.
Now, the things that are on at the high school and the Central Fire Station,
What about that?
that's on this,
No, that's a discussion for another day.
Another
We'll
day?
talk about that later.
Okay.
This will probably take, I don't know how long. It's an open-ended conversation.
This is the original district, which, because there's questions on where the boundary is, we want to establish it from here going forward, so it's clarified for everybody. So if someone else wants to come in, we know what to tell them.
I don't
Yeah,
want to have to spend 2 months
we're gonna
investigating
establish
Lewis Court.
policy, what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know?
So you want to be able and offer
You
this
do
up,
wanna
and
look
everybody wants to
into
know if they're
this, or-
eligible to be able to tie in.
Let me
because we
talk
have the
to,
answer right away.
Randy
Yes.
and Steve a little more about it.
Okay.
We just have a few minutes on this,
Sure.
a working session or something.
On this here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just for a few minutes. And although, I think it's pretty much, to me, it looks okay. And I've been looking at this thing for so long now, especially where it stops at Summer Street, because from there on, it's nothing's in the district up
Well,
there, so.
I found the most difficult pieces were this through the open land, like from, Main Street
Yeah.
and down on through to Hersey. That's all, vague, and the area going to, from Lewis Court, where, maybe that's here, right? That's Lewis Court right here. These lines, and this line from Main Street. those were all through open land, and that's what was really hard to track.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And this is still a little bit of a work. I think we'll have Weston and Sampson out with the GIS, and we'll
Right.
be doing,
So you understand what happened is, we got the request, Steve and I looked into it,
Yep.
and we went by what we read.
Yeah,
And so we gave the lines. We then went to the MWRA and said, okay, this is what it says, we think. Now you guys come back to us and tell us if we're right. And that's what these maps are.
Yep.
So they more or less agreed with us, but we wanted to see from them what it was. So we're coming to you basically to agree with them so we can move forward here.
I mean, I think they're spot on, you know, and if there's anything that needs to be tweaked with regards to the corridor.
You had a doubt, right, Lewis Court?
Well, we
Yeah,
did,
that's
but
resolved.
that's resolved
That's all
now.
resolved, yeah. Yeah, that's resolved.
So
Okay, I mean, it's not going to change.
it's not going
Okay.
to change in it, but if, you know, if you accept this as it is, it allows us
I mean,
to
we can-
move forward in a conversation.
Make a motion to accept it.
You can't, because it's not on the agenda. You only on for...
You know, well,
It'll be an open meeting law, I'll report it, so I wouldn't go there.
It's,
We're not for the next meeting.
we'll talk about the,
Yeah, you can discuss it, then
yeah,
we'll bring
with
it
them,
up.
and then we'll
That's
bring it
fine,
up.
however
We'll
you
put it
wanna
on
do
next
it.
week's agenda.
Yeah.
Okay. Next Wednesday night, maybe? Because you guys won't have to come to that meeting only for this, but we have to meet with Kirk again on these part one and part two of the study there and stuff, so we're gonna be meeting until that's completed. I'm gonna meet with that guy every night if I have to. This has to go out the door, that study. That has to be completed out the door and in the hands of the DEP very quickly. We'll have to put it on the website. We'll have to have Susan Murphy, I guess, give it a little, you know,
Look at,
look at, so, okay.
we'll do that, we'll,
Someday,
So just so I'm clear, and it's on the agenda for the next meeting.
yeah,
So we can have it on the agenda so you can vote. When is the meeting?
I'd like to have it next Wednesday night, to be honest with
Okay,
you.
so is this a meeting of the commission, and we'll have to post it?
yeah.
Yes, oh, yeah, we'll have to post it, yeah. We'll have to
Okay.
post it, yeah.
And we'll put the vote on the meeting
6:30.
agenda. It's- I won't be here.
All right,
Good.
good.
North Sewer District discussion. Next agenda.
The North Sewer District boundaries discussion is postponed until Wednesday, right?
Yeah, and we're gonna have to put that on agenda as a voting issue, okay? And,
Take care of that, Liz? Thank you.
let's see, that would be,
Today's the 11th, it'll be
the 18th, Liz, is that right?
Yes, what time do you want to have it at?
How about
6:30?
7?
7?
7 o'clock?
7 o'clock,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And either Monday or Tuesday, well, let's see, we're supposed to get another
Storm.
storm over
Monday's a
the,
holiday, I believe.
and Monday's a holiday, but, so Wednesday is going to be okay. How about Wednesday morning, we'll just go over a few things on that, just,
He won't be there, but Steve will be there, right?
yeah, Steve will be there,
Okay.
okay. Just, it'll only take a few minutes, I just had a couple of quick questions that'll, you know, okay?
Weston Sampson, they're not here, are they? I know.
No.
Okay.
His GPS said 7.
7?
Said he should be here by 7.
You want to give your report? Supervisory report?
Sure. Obviously, you know, it's been a busy couple of months with the weather, but the main thing I want to bring to your attention is on January 29th, at 108 Kilby Street, there was a forced main break. And that was on private property. There was a bad knuckle in the service connection. And unfortunately, we were under 2 feet of snow in the snowbank, so it took some time for us to find the gate valve to shut that off. The resident didn't report that there was sewage flowing out onto their property. So we don't know how many gallons came out, but I contacted the Board of Health, I contacted the DEP, everybody was notified properly. We were able to find, the DPW crew was able to find the gate valve, but it was frozen. It was full of sand that was frozen, so after about 3 hours of trying to get that cleared out, I had to call in D'Alessandro to dig it. And they dug it up, and we were successful in closing the gate valve and stopping the sewer from coming out. But it brings to light an importance of as-bills. We didn't have as-bills for this. It brings to light the importance of inspections of all these new service connections that go in. And I know that there's a lot of contractors out there who frown when I squeeze them for an as-built, and I hold them up on their next projects and things like that, but we really got to come up with a mechanism to ensure, whether it's a deposit system of money or something before they, when they're doing their connections, so that they have an incentive to get us what we need.
Who was the inspection engineer on that project?
That would have been, either the former supervisor or probably the former supervisor or whoever was in that Phase 2 project.
Okay.
Which the Phase 2 project didn't include check valves going back to the private homes, which creates that problem. If you have a break on a private home, there's no check valve, the force main has nowhere to go but that break.
That's right.
So when we fixed this line, a reputable contractor did it, and we had a check valve installed.
Yeah, okay. These service ties and stuff that, on these as-built plans that are required, not only the locations of the manholes and the
Swing
lateral
ties.
connections and where the stop is and stuff like that, I mean, that's boilerplate stuff, to be honest with you, and I think what you probably want to emphasize in a pre-construction meeting, if they don't provide the plan the way it's supposed to be, you're just going to hold their money up. And that usually gets their attention. If you hold,
Have any money from them, that's
have any
the
money?
problem.
That's what I'm saying.
so nobody followed up on the
have a new policy?
as-built, okay.
So we may want to implement that.
A new
Or you
policy?
folks may want to implement that,
Okay.
so that we get $500, $1,000, whatever it is down, and then once they complete everything and they give everything to us, we give that money back.
Well, we have a retention account, right, for the end of the project?
These aren't projects,
This is
these
the
are
private
private hookups.
These are private homeowners that are
Yeah.
spending their dollars to tie into the system. So
That's right.
the only thing that the installing contractor is doing is paying the appropriate fee, or the homeowner is paying the appropriate connection fee.
We require a licensed drain layer, which, either the former supervisor or I give the test to, and we've upped the ante on that test a little bit. We're gonna test everybody again next year, or this year, and get everybody on the same page, but, things slip through the crack with these guys, and
Okay, when we put the sewer line in, we also put the stub services into the property line. At that point, that's your as-built only goes to the property line anyhow, correct?
that's right.
So that engineer that's doing the inspections and stuff, when he turns in that as-built, not only of the main and the manholes, but he's going to have ties to the lateral connection at the main, and then he's going to also have ties from the building or some suitable location
Well, if
for
you
the
look,
street stop.
if you look at the Ship and Cottage as-bills, that's the most recent ones.
Yeah,
Those are all done, Greg Pion did a great job with those in the
Right.
field book, and those are all done with the swing ties to
Okay.
various manholes and foundation corners and what have you.
Right.
And
So that should be our
those were all
standard.
provided with check valves at the gate
Okay.
valve as well.
well, we should insert that into our next standard contract if we get involved in anything in it. And,
Well, this would be private contractors, it would have to be our requirements, and they are, but
Yep.
the inspection process didn't,
It didn't-
whenever it was inspected
It
by
wasn't-
whomever,
yeah.
they didn't have the check valve after the stop.
Yeah.
And
So that's why.
And we provide that check valve, is that correct?
Well, no, we've provided them in Phase 2 because it wasn't part of the initial project spec.
Okay.
So it was an afterthought.
Okay.
Moving forward, that should always be a criteria to be followed.
Okay. I'm sorry, Kenny, I didn't mean to take you.
No, that's fine. So the process here might be when they pay their connection fee, that initially they may pay a little bit higher, and a portion of it is refundable upon receipt of the as-built. And if not, then there might be a pot of money to hire a service to go out and generate that as-built.
That's correct.
When we have these contracts, do we have money in there for municipal inspection at all?
No.
No.
Okay. So if we added in an amount of money sufficient to cover the cost of chasing those as-built?
We inspect it once it's done. That's part of the process.
Okay, so
If they put something in, at this point in time, if they put something in, they call us, or they call Steve, and Steve goes out and looks at it, inspects it, make sure it's correct.
right,
That's our process now.
right.
What happened before, I have no idea.
Well, that's why we need to, when we go forward, in the go forward, okay, we need to first of all be certain that the as-built, and that can even be done before the paving is done, as long as we have all the service ties to the lateral connection at the sewer main and the stop that's going to turn that off and on. If we have all of that, once we get that as-built, we're good, and that's the time to do
The other thing that
it.
I'm not convinced was done was pressure testing. They really need to pressure test those lines.
Well, that's-
Because it's not a gravity line where you're just going to trickle out whatever you flush.
pressure.
It's a force main. You're going to empty the whole system into someone's yard.
Yeah, there's a protocol for testing for all of that stuff, and I might be able to encourage Ken to look into that in the standard stuff, okay?
It could be
And
part of
then-
your new spec package that you're doing,
Yeah.
with all the regulations that you're going to upgrade.
Yeah, we don't necessarily have Weston and Sampson every time out there. We don't know if they will be the particular engineering firm doing the inspection work and stuff and providing all those ties. Whoever that firm is, there should be a boilerplate list of those responsibilities, okay?
This isn't for a big project. This is for like individual homeowners that want to connect.
Yeah, but we at some point,
If it's a project like Shipping Cottage,
yeah,
yes, we had the engineer there, and he gave us the ties, all the drawings, everything's nice.
but when that was installed in Kilby Street, all of that should have been completed,
Absolutely.
and it wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay, so my only point is, we can correct that, and there's a couple of different ways to handle that. We'll look into that, and if we have to just hold some retention money from the contractor, that usually gets their ear, if you owe money.
That's what we're asking.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's what we want.
yeah, we'll do that, okay? We'll
Maybe we can
work
do
something
that
out,
and come up with a figure.
come up with a number, perhaps,
It's the same thing we do with the street opening.
5% O and C,
Yeah,
something
I mean,
like
We can
that.
come up with a figure.
Yeah.
This information is critical to your ability to operate and
Operate.
maintain the system.
Well, long
So
after all of us are gone, there's going to be people who are going to need those drawings,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And the preference is that the installing contractor and the homeowner that's tying in provide it as part of their permitting requirements, but if they fail to do so, then we would have sufficient funds that we could go out and get the information
Correct.
That's
that we
right.
all need to maintain the system.
Tom?
Yeah, Steve, you're talking about pressure testing, but not all the people on Shipping Cottage are on pressurized lines.
No, but we pressurized everyone that was.
Okay, so you're not talking about the people on the gravity feed having to do a pressure test?
No, not at
When
all.
you're talking about doing an as-built, at what point are you talking about doing an as-built? Right where the connection is? Or all the way back to the house?
To the town layout, and then when the private contractor hooks up to the house, we want that as-built as well.
From the house all the way to the,
The town layout has their own as-built, and then each house has their own.
I mean, I guess what I'm asking, what are you looking for information in the as-built? Just the location of the line?
The location of the line, the depth, the swing ties from the corners of the house, if there's any Julia bends or, you know what I mean, anything like that. Just, we want to see a picture.
Are you requiring an engineering stamp on that?
No, part of the drain layers license covers that. We talked to them about that.
No, I understand, I just want to see, because you're talking about an expense here, that's all I'm talking about. How many people are hooked in on Shipping Cottage Street so far?
3?
And that, again, you're talking about expense, I just want to narrow it down to make sure I understand what you're talking
Oh,
about.
you're talking about a licensed drain layer.
Which has to do the installation anyways.
You're talking about a licensed drain layer, someone in the field who's familiar with swing tides, and all that I have to ensure when I give the test.
It has to
To
be
make sure they're a
inspected.
reputable
So you just
contractor.
want them to certify, give you
So if we have a
essentially
fee,
plot plan.
That's it.
That certifies this is what the pipe is, this is the depth of the pipe, this is the pitch of the pipe run for the house.
That's it.
Boom, boom, okay. And
Exactly.
maybe a
And
picture.
it might be very, very simple. If you go off of, from here to the house, 3 feet, it might be a very simple picture.
Yeah, and maybe a picture showing the actual connection.
Yes, that's what we want.
I do the pictures on it upon inspection.
Yeah, whatever.
you have any additional on your report, Steve?
No, that was the most important thing I wanted to cover today.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Wastewater management plan,
He may not be here till 7:15.
If we're at a good point here, can we take a step back to the warrant article that
Yeah.
was heard a moment ago?
Sure.
So, advisory has tasked me with looking into this warrant article, making a recommendation and comment on it. And there was one part of it that I really want to get your guys' opinion on, because this is your chance. So, do you have Article GG handy?
Yeah.
So, like Bob said, most of this is just reenacting what town meeting did in the 80s, and there's a screw up with paperwork, and the Attorney General never approved it, so now they have to reenact it. That's subsection C and subsection E of the new language. Subsection D, though, is new. That wasn't part of what town meeting approved in the 80s, and it's something that, if this goes through this year's town meeting, would be a brand new requirement for you guys, and I wanted to get your sense of that. What subsection D would require is that whenever there's an addition to the sewer system, that this board make a statement to town meeting at the time they're approving that addition, indicating the inclusion of said project within the town's state-approved comprehensive wastewater master plan. And the reason this kind of perked my ears up when I first saw it last month is it's unclear what it means. It's unclear whether that would require this board to say that the new project is within the scope of the state-approved plan, or just say whether it's within the scope or not of the state-approved plan. So I pitched that question to Kurt Schiltz at a Board of Health meeting back in December. What he said is that the intent is that this board would have to say that a new project is within the scope of a state-approved master wastewater management plan, which perked my ears up, because as I understand it, we actually don't have one of those right now. So if this language is approved the way it stands right now, we wouldn't be allowed to add to our sewer system. So first, I wanted to make sure I'm understanding all that correctly. Second, I wanted to get your sense of how this board feels about that new requirement being placed on it.
When I was there that evening, I did bring up an issue, and I was able to relate it back to Phase 1 of the comprehensive wastewater plan. I picked up on that myself. The only thing is we're probably going to have to do this anyhow once we get this approved. I think it's important to approve this now, okay, because this is going to get approved one way or another. Okay, we're going to get this to the DEP, we're going to get it approved if we have to revise it to approve it, but it has to be approved because we can't go forward in many other areas. So this is probably a good time, in my opinion at least, and to bring it up to date. And I think that's all the attempt is here, to bring this up to date once and for all, this particular request. I think that's all it's about. I don't think there's anything else to it, but,
But one of the action items for Kirk at the end of that meeting in December was he was actually going to go through the administrator's office to legal counsel to find out whether this new requirement in subsection D was legally required or not. I haven't heard back about that. Have you?
no, I haven't heard from anyone. No.
Well, what Eric is saying is this board needs to be happy with the language here. And if you're not, it can be remedied, but it is a requirement in future hookups for you guys to make sure that this is a statement that you'll be able to make and feel comfortable.
Yeah, I haven't seen the language, but it sounds to me, actually, what they're probably trying to do with knowing Kurt, I mean, the time he's spent on the wastewater management study, I think he's trying to probably give the powers that be a boot in the rear end to get it approved, because it's been languishing out there. But let's see, a statement by the board indicating the inclusion of the project, and then indicating the inclusion. Well, I mean, indicating that it is included, or indicating the inclusion. It's a little bit,
Yeah.
it's a little bit vague. But I mean, the bottom line
The way
is,
that I read this is that effectively you'd have to say that the whatever hookup, whatever project is in the waste management plan.
Right, this,
there's a difference where you could say what if they added the word whether to that, whether or not it
Yeah.
is.
yeah,
Because I think that's what town meeting needs to know, because I think one of Kirk's issues here is that he spent all this time and effort and money on this wastewater management plan, and for example, the Ship Street, Cottage Street was nowhere on the radar of that, realistically, and that thing got pushed through, where there's other, we spent all this money, time, and effort on this study that in this plan that has identified areas in the town with critical needed sewer services. And so, it's like the issue of whether or not there's a public health issue, which was voted way back in 1983, the language, it was actually the advisory committee's amended language from the proponent, Mr. Brandt, the former commissioner. But anyways, the point being is that in that situation, it wasn't that the project couldn't go forward, it was just that the town meeting had to be advised whether or not there was a public health issue here or need for it. And I think that's, first blush, that would be my guess what the disclosure is, rather than a prohibition from going forward.
the phase one, Tom, okay, of the comprehensive wastewater study actually outlines in writing what areas
Well, I
of the
know,
town.
I've seen it.
Okay,
Oh, yeah,
so
I've
you've seen
it,
that.
and I know.
So we have to stay within that boundary. Once this is approved, we're going to, so,
Yeah, but I don't think the town should be, the town's hands should be tied if it turns out that there's another area in town that hasn't been identified, because, as we've seen by the South Hingham issue with the industrial park, that's not based on public health need, that's based on development purposes.
Really the nub of this subsection D is, I suspect we would all hate to see the town get in a situation where it's tied its own hands in a way that it's prevented itself from doing something that it would want to do.
well, this wastewater plan, phase one, does that. And I think I mentioned that at the Board of Health, because in the phase one plan, okay, it gives a list of the areas, but it negated World's End, for instance. Yet in the next paragraph, it identified World's End as somewhat of a need, okay? And I brought that to the Board of Health's attention, and I have a lot of questions here on this to begin with, okay?
On the warrant article?
No, on this, but they're very minor, and it's only because I don't understand, quite honestly, and I need someone to explain some of the language in here.
But
Okay.
Bob, the two of the three were already voted on by town meeting back in 1983.
Right, they
And
just
what-
want to amend it, that's all.
Right, and
Yeah.
basically what happened was the then town clerk, John Studley, for whatever reason, 3 years later, he actually sent the original article in, only part of it, what was voted at town meeting, he sent it in 3 years later, and he never sent in page 2, which contains 2 out of the 3 of these things. And again, I go back to the point where that was the advisory committee's essentially recommended motion, which got passes the town meeting vote. So that was already vetted all the way back in 1983. The question is, as I see it, is whether that new language is intended to be a condition precedent to the town appropriating money for a sewer project or not, or whether it's just advisory to give the town meeting put them on notice whether or not this is a project that has been identified in the comprehensive plan as, a need, an area where sewer would be, needed? Because I don't think every area in the town is covered by that,
It is absolutely not. I won't, it is absolutely not, but, and I went through this with them earlier, at that meeting that we had. Eric and Tommy were there, and I did question that particular guidance that we got from it. And then another thing here, because it precluded areas that may be in need as opposed to want. And one of those areas in need that has been somewhat identified by the Board of Health in a letter from the executive director as World's End. With that said, World's End, of course, is not in the sewer district. That's number one. Okay. Number two, if that were to become a Board of Health need versus a want for something else, we have to find out how we can do that, okay? Because in here, you can't do it.
Again, depending on what the and unfortunately, it's good that you're talking about these issues, because the time to fix this, or not fix it, but correct it, is now. And so that it's very clear, so that people are coming back 10 years later and saying, well, no, this was just advisory, as opposed to being, not advisory committee, but an advisory to town meeting, as opposed to being a condition precedent to action or to appropriation.
If we would get this,
I think Tom has actually crystallized the issue in just the right way. So why don't I ask it this way? Let me ask two questions. One is this board comfortable with a requirement that any sewer appropriation be accompanied by a statement that the project is in the scope of the management plan? That's the first question. Second question, is this board comfortable making a statement with respect to any sewer appropriation, whether or not, maybe or may not be, but whether or not it's within the scope of the plan? Did you follow that?
yeah.
So
I think if we were to, if the Board of Health really wants to try to soar an area, let's call it the XYZ area, and it's not in here, then there has to be a mechanism outside of this to do that. Board of Health has pretty strong regulations in the Commonwealth, and they have a lot of power, okay, when it comes to sewer.
Right. And Bob, just so you know, basically what's happened, again, I want to re-emphasize this, is that historically in this town, the sewer commission was created basically to construct and operate the sewer system. And if you look at the original North Sewer District legislation and all the town meeting stuff, and I went back and looked at all of this, the driving force in this was the then health department, okay? And it was, and I'm just saying, but so the driving force was the health department. They went and said, look, we need sewer here, and then it came, the town would vote yes or no, and then it was incumbent on the sewer commission to see that it was constructed and operated. Now we're going to a different view of sewer, not just health-based need, but development-based need, in which the Board of Health really plays no role. So the bigger issue here is redefining the role of the sewer commission as to, what its role is vis-a-vis implementing sewer projects, from just, being sort of the construction arm and operation arm for the town to the policy-making arm of the town.
Well, unfortunately, this has been going on since, 2005. We spent $400,000 on something that's incomplete. Okay, and it's something that's going to probably within 2 or 3 years, if we're going to continue in South Hingham, it's going to have to be revised. Okay, but we need to have a base document to start with. Okay, we need to get started with some base documentation. We can always change it. Okay, we can always change it. There's no reason we can't. Even this, okay, which I don't have any problem with it, because if the Board of Health or the advisory gives us other guidance, certainly we'll be happy to follow that. We'll be happy to listen very carefully.
And again, based on what I read on the draft report, it's all essentially health-driven, water quality-driven, etc.
Well, of course it is, yeah.
It's not development related.
Yeah.
So maybe the plan, comprehensive plan, needs to be amended to include a chapter, paragraph, whatever, section about developed sewer in terms of development as opposed to health.
I agree, but here, my only point is, and I don't want to beat this thing to death.
We're getting a little off the tangent.
Yeah.
The change, we're talking about
Yeah.
the article rather than.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, he's asking
Yeah.
them how
Yeah.
they
So-
feel comfortable about it. And I'm
so-
just saying it depends on what their role is.
Yeah, and, we can, I think we can change this document. I think we can change it through this set of documents here.
So the comprehensive wastewater
Wastewater
management
yeah.
plan,
Yep.
as I read through it, one of the things I picked up on was that even after it goes through a DEP review, and I'm not sure whether they actually give a formal approval or not, or if they just review, it may potentially require a MEPA, ENF, and then an EIR for everything that comes out of this as well. But in the comprehensive wastewater management plan, it calls for it to be a living document. So if it's approved by the DEP, it is a living document that's intended for the town to use as a tool and a platform, and the charge of that document charges it back to the sewer commission to be the custodian of that and sort of operate that and bring that out to the public forum. So I think that's some of the flexibility that Bob, that you're speaking of.
That's the way I'm looking at it. We're going to have to revise this in the future. I would say within 2 or 3 years, if we really get to the point where we're really going to go forward up there in South Hingham, we may have to revise this because some of the numbers that I'm seeing, some of the numbers that I'm seeing for 2025 and even 2030, we're looking at 1.5 million gallons to 2 million gallons a day of wastewater treatment just in South Hingham. Okay?
Yeah, and again, I'm just saying, I'm trying to...
So this will have to be revised to accommodate that. We're not going to go with a central treatment plant as far as this is concerned. We're looking at on-site, maybe zoning it out, so much capacity in each location. And when we reach that capacity, when we have a cap, that's it, first come, first serve. But that's not indicated here, so that's all going to have to change.
So would it be more in line with the living
There he is.
nature of the document?
Yep.
If the language of this warrant article were to be changed, just to say that this board has to say whether or not a new project complies with the plan?
Advisory as opposed to it as a condition.
I'd say advisory, yeah.
Yeah.
Advisory to town meeting, letting them know whether or not,
Yep.
this falls within the comprehensive
Wastewater management.
plan.
And of course, as always, town meeting makes the decision.
Correct.
That sounds good.
In advisory capacity, yeah.
Yeah, an advisory capacity.
That would be in the comments.
You can actually, the recommended motion, that'll be within scope. You think that's within scope?
No.
Clarify that.
No. If you put it in the commentary section.
I disagree with that.
Well, I think that answers my question anyway.
Okay.
Gives me the guidance that I need, so thank you.
Ask for Weston and Sampson update.
Are you breathing?
Did everyone else leave the house at 4 o'clock? I apologize for being late. We're up to the Weston and Sampson update.
Yeah.
Well, I have a couple of things here. I think Randy and Steve can help on a couple of these. On the I&I side, we have a couple of contracts that are up, and I think were discussed last time. But basically, we're moving into year 3 of the annual asset management program. We're wrapping up year 2 right now. So we have our contract for services for the FY16 annual sewer program. And then we also, in conjunction with that, or at the same time, we've been working with Randy and Steve on a town-wide metering program to identify the program going forward after year 3 and where the critical needs areas are. So we also have an agreement to do some flow metering, which is actually supposed to start at the beginning of March. We're going to get some meters into the sewer system for a 10-week period to really get a feel, especially as we hopefully start getting some snow melt and some wet weather and high groundwater, where the next areas to target are. So we're basically moving forward into year 3 and looking where we're going from here. So that's where we're headed next with the I&I. We do have contracts for that for consideration tonight, or for execution, I guess. And again, with all the I&I stuff, this is all under the MWRA monies. I know they had a meeting with John Zarek recently with MWRA just to go over the status of the funding. And all of this money is under that MWRA funding, which is now into the 75% grant, 25% loan. So taking advantage of that money, basically 75% of the money is paid directly by the MWRA. The other 25% is a 0% loan through the MWRA for both the professional services as well as the actual construction work that comes out of it, which has been ongoing.
How much of that do we have in MWRA on the I&I?
How much money do we have?
Yeah.
I don't know where we're about to complete pool 9, so they have different pools of money, and the pool 8 and 9 money is what we've been working from most recently. The pool 8 money was from a few years ago, and we finally been able to get through all of that money and do some good work on the system. I think the contracts that are being done right now are wrapping up pool 9, and pool 10 just came out, and I think it's about 350,000 is what you have.
363,000.
363 is what you have in pool 10 of the MWRA money.
Oh, I'm sorry, 379,000.
Excellent.
48, yeah.
Okay. So, that's the next money that we're going to have you guys ready to take advantage of. Basically, the work that we want to do under these contracts is to identify the best way to make use of those monies.
We just received that money. We just had it.
Okay.
And these are actually...
That's, you guys happy?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the 2 different contracts, the townwide flow metering, and then this is the
Just need
FY16.
just
These are
need-
just for execution, yeah.
For commission.
Yeah, for commission.
Are those going to be temporary meters in there just to study
So-
the flows?
So what we've actually arranged for as part of this is there's 8 meters going in, I believe, and 4 of them are going to be temporary, but we've also identified 4 locations where they can be
This is part
permanent.
of the original 3-year contract.
Okay.
So 4 of the meters are actually going to
When
be
is it
permanent.
due? When is it over?
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay, September, when does this end, this contract, Randy, do you know?
This contract
Yeah.
with Weston
The
and
new
Sampson?
contract, yeah, with Weston and Sampson on this I&I?
I think it's September.
September, okay.
Do you want to sign these at the
No.
end, or do you want to take time?
I'm sorry, the contract is up on December 31st.
Oh, okay. So we need to do something
Oh,
in
that's the
September.
on-call, I'm
Eddie.
sorry. It's, yeah.
It's on
September.
call. It's on call.
Do you want to sign these now, or you want to wait till the end to sign?
We can wait till the end, you know.
You want to take some of these, Steve, want to take some of these back with him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to stick around for a while at this point.
Okay.
I'm not getting back in my car right now.
Is it still snowing out when you came in?
All right, so we'll just leave them here and we'll sign everything at the end.
No, it's not.
Yeah, that would be fun.
So,
So I was answering your question about the meters, though. So as part of the flow metering program, there are 8 meters going in. 4 of them are temporary, but 4 of them, we've worked with the MWRA, and 4 of the locations, we've actually able to go with permanent meters. They're being funded by the MWRA, but they'll stay in place afterwards, so they'll help with some of the ability to meter at some of the pump stations.
What are the costs of the meters?
What's that?
How much are the cost of the meters?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Like $2,000.
Again, so it's
I don't want to say.
Yeah.
8 meters for 10 weeks. I have to look at one of the copies. Yeah.
Yeah.
The nice thing about this is that we'll be able to hang on to them and permanently,
Use them.
once we put it in.
Good.
Yeah.
This will help to identify infiltration more than,
And inflow, even
Inflow.
more importantly, I mean, yes, infiltration, and that's what we've been attacking right now
Yeah.
with some of the earlier phases, but this will really also help with the inflow.
There'll be-
More so, because we're gonna, with the 10-week period, the goal is to get some significant rain events and get a feel for how instantaneous, the inflow effects are more instantaneous than the
Yeah, right,
infiltration.
yeah.
Infiltration, obviously, the groundwater's up, and then
Right.
you see it over time with that, but the inflow, if you've got meters in there after,
There'll be gravity meters, and then there'll be meters at
Yes.
the pump stations. We're gonna get some rain.
There's rain gauges.
Rain
Yeah, the
gauges.
whole flow metering
Yeah.
program includes rain gauges, and there are, I think 4 of them are gravity meters in the
So
gravity.
we'll see
sewers.
what-
those
what's coming in,
generate
what's
computer
going out.
graphics to,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
She's getting a good rating after all the snow melts.
Oh, yeah,
That's the hope.
yeah.
Like I said, they're
In
going,
May.
the plan is for them to go in March 1st. We coordinated, scheduled with the flow metering company. You gotta be out in front of it because everybody's scheduling this stuff this year.
Just a stupid question.
Sure.
Will that help to identify any large exfiltrations going on in the system?
It can certainly be a tool to use for that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not something, we don't ever talk about that, but
Yeah, I mean,
it's gonna come up in the data.
yeah,
I would think if you're looking at 2 different points,
Yeah.
saying what happened from here to here.
yeah,
It's not something that we're targeting.
yeah, okay.
One of the biggest things that I look at is, with these meters, is one thing is I&I, but the other one is the efficiency of the station and the pumps. So we can look at the data and figure out if maintenance is required on some of these pumps. Right now, we just have electrical readings, and we really don't have any information. So, and we'll be able to get this remotely also.
Yeah.
So right now, we just meter at the last source heading out to the MWRA, is that?
MWRA has a meter, we don't.
Okay.
No, I don't think
So now
so.
we'll have meters at each of the pump
Well,
stations.
yeah,
to be able to
yeah,
collect
electrical.
information, and if there's something, you could drill down to get water meter readings too, to compare against how much you're pumping.
we
You could do
can,
some of those
yes.
other type of studies if something seems a little bit out of
Right.
whack.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's good data to
Great.
have.
it is,
Good
yeah.
data to have,
Yeah, it's a good management tool to help really optimize it and make the improvements.
That's good, Kenny, good question. Keep going.
I also had, if we're all set with that for now, we've talked about this Bayberry Road ejector station, and we actually voted on this a few months ago. The commission did to move forward with designing some improvements to that. We've taken some initial looks at it, but what I've been delinquent in, what I have now is the actual agreement. You guys voted on it, and then I've now actually put it together.
Okay.
This is for Weston and Sampson to help with the design. You're basically going to convert that ejector station on Bayberry Drive. It's the last one of its type in the town. Steve will attest that.
Is that going underground and
That's
evolved?
the underground one.
Yeah, and it's going to have a Bilco hatch cover on it and stuff,
Yeah.
landscaped out and everything, make the neighbors happy over there?
Well, yeah, we're open to discussing the landscaping. The biggest thing is to get those ejector pots out of there.
Yeah.
And put some submersible,
Yes.
some more modern, typical submersible pumps in there that'll be much more efficient and reliable. So this will get you a design package and also through the bidding procurement process to get a contractor on board to do the work. That's what this, so this is 3 copies of that contract.
And I do have the money in the budget for this.
Okay, all right, good,
Can they do the other ones?
okay.
The other thing I would report is that, I'll blame it on the weather, but we haven't rescheduled that work session on the road.
Yeah,
plans, which
okay.
We have to do.
We have to do that.
And I'll work with you and Randy. I said it last month, that's what I said. I said I'd work with you guys, and it got away from us. So I'll blame it on the weather, but.
Yeah, because we'd like to get that up on the website for people to take a
Yeah.
look at, and also to have council take a breeze through it also,
Yep.
just so.
No, that's all part of the plan, is
Yeah.
to wrap it up and then make it available for
Yeah.
public comment.
Okay,
So in the next couple of weeks, we got to get.
Great. Keep your snowshoes handy.
That's right.
Well, Steve, do you have anything else?
Nope.
Any other comments?
On anything?
Yeah.
I do have a comment.
Okay.
I just want to let you know that you voted on December 10th to extend the contract between the sewer department and the DPW for 60 days. It's now 61 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion to extend that for another 60 days.
Is that a motion?
Motion?
Here a
Any
second?
second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay,
All those in favor?
aye.
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 Okay?
Any other comments from the, Steve, do you have anything?
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted
Thank you for the good work during the storm, too, guys. I know it's been hard.
On your agenda, where you say other items may not reasonably not 48 hours in advance of the meeting, I think the AG's office uses the phrase known to the chair.
Simply just to transmit those.
Don't do this, Chair?
Known to the chair.
Okay.
To the chair.
Look in their guide.
Yeah.
Steve, if you want to give me a buzz when you have some time next week, that's just, I had a couple of questions on that so that we can, before Wednesday, we can put that on the agenda. Liz, we're going to put that on the agenda to accept, to review for acceptance
You
the,
give me a call anytime between 7:30 and 4, and I can
Okay.
make it work.
all right?
Your motion to adjourn?
Kirk evidently is,
Yeah, he's not here.
he's not here. He's a half an hour late, 35 minutes late. And since this has been going on since the flood, I don't think another week is going to matter. So I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
We'll reschedule.
Pass these out.